Good afternoon. Before I speak, I would just like to turn around and everyone who is against uranium mining in this room, please stand. Thank you. With that said, I will talk to you about Pandora's box. Pandora's box was very beautiful. Pandora's box was fine. Until the little girl decided to mine. A little humor there. Okay, I have a bad sense of humor. All right. Basically, the right to breathe clean air and drink clean water, to me, is a civil right. I am president of the Martinsville-Henry County Voters League. I am president of the Martinsville-Henry County NAACP. I am president of the Martinsville-Henry County Sierra Club. Today on a bus, we brought up people, Republicans, Democrats, and Tea Party, all of the same mind. No one has the right to destroy your quality of life, and uranium mining will destroy the quality of life in Virginia. It will shut down industry. It will shut down pharmaceutical companies. It will shut down beverage companies. And if we have a catastrophic event, which the engineers have already told you we could, you're talking about shutting down pharmaceutical companies as far away as Raleigh, North Carolina. Shut down Anheuser-Busch in Williamsburg. Shut down Miller Coors. Because if the ban is lifted in Cold Hill, it is lifted across the state. The uranium deposits run the length of the Blue Ridge Parkway, the most beautiful drive in the United States. Everybody has driven the Blue Ridge Parkway. But when the tectonic plates shifted, they brought those uranium deposits up and they run parallel to the Blue Ridge Parkway. So we will destroy the state of Virginia. We will destroy a $6.5 billion farming and agricultural, because once that radioactive dust falls on everything, you're not growing anything anymore. Dairy farmers will shut down, tobacco farmers will shut down. So we are talking about a blight. But worse than all, forget about the farming, what about the people who live in the tidewater? Will we have to truck water to them like the Navajos? The Navajo have to have water trucked into them because uranium has destroyed, the uranium mining has destroyed their water. So now you've got a nice $100,000 house, and you're back like I was when I was a little kid, washing up in a basin. Now, that really is not the American dream. So, I beg you, regardless of who's paying for this study, this is a flawed idea. This is a bad deal for Virginia, for the tidewater, for water quality, for the South Side, for air quality, and for economic growth. There is no win in this. Pandora's box needs to stay closed. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ann Cockrell. I live in Danville, Virginia. I'm about 18 miles, as crow flies, from the proposed mine mill. And it's hot in here. Can you guys do something about this? 'Cause it's hot. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity to let us come, the last meeting tonight, to let us come to you and express our concerns. We are very concerned, all of us. And let's read as your motive. I mean, I hear jobs, I hear a lot of things, but this is where we live. And your study is going to impact whether you won't do it or should do it. Our legislators are going to take what you present to them, and they're going to overturn the moratorium. I mean, that's why Virginia Uranium Inc. paid $1.4 million and funneled it through Virginia Tech so you guys could do a study so the legislators could overturn the moratorium. Now that all said, I'm not going to be here long. I talked too long last time. I would like, if you would, the next two meetings, it's going to be in Denver, Colorado, and Saskatchewan, Thank you. Saskatchewan, uranium capital of the world, both places, regions, states, have had uranium mining and milling, and with really bad results. And it's not only like 30, 40 years ago, yes, that was true, but they've also got recent history. So we can talk about recent advances in mining, milling. So I would really appreciate it if you would let those people come to you. Let pro-mine people come. Let the Navajo, let people who in Colorado, let them come forth and let them talk about what they've had to deal with and if their water was contaminated. You need to hear that. And that's our future. And I really do appreciate you listening to all of us. And I hope that you will consider letting there be a town hall meeting. I think there's a lot of Canadians who would like to get up and say, this is wrong, this is what's happening in my backyard. But our government hides it. So I appreciate you guys having us here tonight. Thank you.
The next speaker is Sarah Motley.
My name is Sarah Motley. I was raised on a dairy farm 4 miles outside of Chatham, Virginia. Currently, I work as a nurse on a hospice unit overlooking the Chesapeake Bay. In the 1980s, I lived and worked near the James River, here in the heart of Richmond. Your work group heard from 2 of my siblings in December. Thank you in advance for listening to my story tonight. Before Google and GPS, I took a 10,000-mile, 2-month journey in search of uranium mines and mills. I spent time in the areas around the mines, stopping by the feed and grain stores, the mom-and-pop lunch counters, as well as health clinics and state agencies that monitor groundwater. My travels took me from the Spokane Indian Reservation in Washington State to the Four Corners region of the country, and that's where I spent most of my time. When I asked the mining company official at Church Rock, the site of the largest tailings pond failure, why it happened, his response was both shocking and irresponsible. He said that the dam had been sabotaged by the locals. Upon my return to Richmond, I was able to attend many of the Coal and Energy Commission sessions and to track committee meetings dealing with uranium mining because my home was only a mile away and I worked night shift. In addition to being a dairy farmer, my father taught government and history for 30 years. He encouraged us to be good citizens, not to be afraid to ask tough questions, hard questions, to learn from history, and to look beyond the obvious. The question that was and is the most troubling to me about uranium mining and milling is tailings management and water quality. In the early 80s, one of the New Mexico state groundwater hydrologists came to Virginia at my invitation. We arranged a meeting to speak about tailings management and groundwater. It was a standing room only audience, and the entire Virginia State Water Control Board attended. And it was at Camp Pitt, on the banks of the Mill Creek. Ironically, the site of that meeting now houses the Coles Hill core samples. Education and accountability are the hallmarks of good government and make for informed citizens. Questions that I am most interested in learning the answers to include: how has tailings management changed in the last 30 years? How many mines and mill sites are on the Superfund list? How many times has the state of Texas changed their water standards at the request of the mining industry? Please, as you deliberate, ask the hard questions, and do not miss words when you record your findings. The most helpful report from your gifted body to the legislature of the General Assembly would be one that is lobbyist-proof, both pro and con. Thank you again for your time and attention.
The next speaker is Cale Gaffney.
Thank you all very much. My name is Cale Jaffe. I'm a senior attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center. I'm also a lecturer at the University of Virginia School of Law, where I teach environmental law and federalism. In December, I mentioned that Virginia is already a partial agreement state to the maximum extent allowed under state law, and I predicted that if the state ban were lifted, Virginia would seek to become a total agreement state. On this point today, we heard from Conrad Spangler with the Virginia Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy, who noted that a state commission in 1984 recommended that the state pursue full agreement state status. Director Spangler further noted that if Virginia did become an agreement state, it's his department that would likely have the authority to conduct watershed monitoring through the department's NIPDES program. What Director Spangler did not mention was that just this morning, a state Senate committee approved a bill to strictly limit his department's ability to use whole effluent toxicity testing, or WET testing, to monitor water quality downstream of coal surface mining operations. That effectively ends WET testing in many cases. The bill was introduced at the request of the Coal Mining Association and has already passed the House of Delegates. It's almost certain to become law, despite the fact that it conflicts with our existing delegation agreement with EPA on our NIPDES program. You also heard from David Paler, Director of the Department of Environmental Quality, who mentioned that his department would handle any additional regulatory burden from the uranium industry by, quote, setting priorities. Setting priorities, of course, means figuring out what you have to cut. And the question then becomes, what are the existing safeguards that will end up on the cutting room floor? In closing, I would just encourage this committee to consider the anti-regulatory tenor prevalent at the State General Assembly as evidenced by the Anti-Water Quality Monitoring Bill, and encourage the committee to evaluate the weaknesses and risks that will arise if Virginia becomes an agreement state. Thank you all very much.